because we know that we're going to travel the best path to get to the crater. So we know that these other rovers who don't have a good torque system as us, and they're going to be a little slower.
It's all about the torque.
Yeah,
So-
I like that it took like 10 minutes for you to.
Actually, Andrew,
So we'll drop these landmines as a little treat for them as they go up the same path.
Oh my
How is
There.
hey, Andrew,
Yes.
the next 2 slides after this you wrote.
Oh, awesome.
So I'll just tell you that.
Okay.
All right. We would like each team to present briefly. You do not have to wear costumes or makeup, but a brief presentation of your rover would be helpful. And I'm going to turn the camera around. And Laura,
Yes.
this is about a time for a picture.
Oh, yes.
All right, who's presenting first?
Because
You're up? All right.
No one else on.
I have to present graphic reports to NASA in the next couple of weeks.
Turn that light back on.
We're gonna go first. Do we present here or there?
But why don't you present right there?
All right. Go over there. So pretty.
We like the colors. This is Mac. Hopefully you like him. The Mars Aqua Collector. And, or in Tenthville, strong winds blowing. It's fall. Okay, but it's on a hinge and it can be communicated to come back up. So we can communicate quite regularly with Earth, with our antenna array, our solar panel, and we have our drill bit to collect the samples, and you can see it's even collected some samples in here.
I see.
And it works.
Fantastic.
All right. Well, you want it up here?
Can I get a
or-
close?
Yeah,
I
you
want to
can-
get
why
a
don't you
close
leave it
up. Yeah,
there,
leave it up
leave it
there.
up.
Now, we would like to put our rover in front since we're going to be in front of them.
Oh, no
As-
word.
Such
As
competition.
we,
I know, right?
all right, so ladies and gents, this is, we have 2 names here. We try to debate between Rudolph Rover and, was it Bozo the Clown? Are our 2 choices here. And from the camera, that we have a 360 view of all the pictures that we take as we descend and then also onto Mars. We have a lot of features in here. They're all workable features. We have our core sampler here that we can actually spin this in turn to get our core sample. We have an adjustable drill that literally will go up and then through this mechanism will actually drill into the ground. We have our communications satellite that actually rotates 360 degrees. We have our science station here to gather our samples and do our experiments. We also were the traction. We were aware that we need to be able to go up terrain and rocky conditions, so we actually have very good traction here. We have our landmine that we release here for the other rovers as they come up to the competition is very important. So we have
My question is, with that gear wheel as a wheel, does it actually move?
absolutely.
Oh, yeah, it
We
works
tested
great. We tested it with the batteries
used
and the
the battery?
flashlight, and we couldn't keep up with it on the carpet. It ran off
Yeah,
the left.
I mean, it was spinning fast.
Yeah.
Okay, and it
Yeah.
actually went on.
And the deal behind the
Yes.
tricycle wheel was so that we'd have a real nice tight turning radius.
Yeah. See, other rovers that, just gonna use this one as an example, this is a great rover, by the way, but it has longer turning radiuses where ours could literally turn on a dime. And so that's our rover.
Thank you.
And so the motor was still on, you still had a gear wheel on one of them. It was just your front wheel was the high terrain.
Right.
It's also
That's okay.
And then the others follow, and that gives us.
Right, excellent.
If we have.
Okay, let's get rolling.
all right.
Okay,
This is Rocky. I don't think anyone said that as a name, right?
No.
Okay, this is Rocky, and we named it Rocky because, you know, it's going into a crater, a lot of rocks. It's going to be rocky if it really works. It's touch and go. We actually have our probe, our core sampler. At one point, it was going up and down. We had something inside of it, but I think it fell out. That was actually sliding up and down to actually take the core samples. We have lights because we know at times it may be dark, and we actually have some little headlights on here that'll guide it. So, and this right here is the camera, so anything on the ground it can take pictures of, and the light will help it. This is the, what is it? The telemetry antenna that will get the information back to Earth. And this is also a camera that is up high, so we can take pictures of things at a great distance.
Cool.
All right.
All
right.
Good job, y'all. Yeah.
All girls still, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm interested in your. I don't know. Should we show the audience or show us?
For what?
We're webcasting live.
Oh, you should show the audience.
Okay. Yeah. One of the places we're starting the program is in northern New Hampshire, where the most popular local dairy is the Lotterock Dairy. I was thinking about your comment about calling it Rocky, and I'm thinking, you know, students who think the way I think would probably call their Rover the Dairy. You guys are nodding too enthusiastically. All right. The next 3 slides are actually written by Andrew, so I'll let him talk to them.
Okay.
You can say next slide, please. And
Okay, yeah, so we talked a little bit about this earlier in the session, but one of the things that we try to do with the curriculum is build it in a way that you can integrate a lot of topics from your curriculum, from the TEKS, that aren't necessarily directly tied to Mars exploration or space exploration in general. And so these are just a few of the science TEKS. Those are probably the easiest to imagine being integrated, but, and I'm not 100% sure what the next few slides say, but one of the things that I want to make it clear about is that this, depending on how you do this, right, this can integrate TEKS from across the curriculum. Clearly there's opportunities to integrate mathematics into this, but there's also opportunities to integrate history, economics, language arts. Is in fact explicitly connected to the process of creating the skit. Writing in science is a huge, one of the things you guys hear probably a lot is, it doesn't matter what you teach, you're a literacy teacher, right? And so there are a number of components of this project that are designed to help increase vocabulary, particularly vocabulary for English language learners, and then writing in science through the notebook, or the sort of process that kids have to go through to create the thing they put in front of the judges as evidence of the process.
there are aspects we haven't even put in any of our standards alignment. I mean, one of the people I've been working with trying to get the curriculum going, also besides Northern New Hampshire, is Northern Vermont, where I happen to know the chair of the Montpelier School Board, and her husband is the arts commissioner for the state of Vermont. He's actually the fiend who invented the acronym STEAM. And you knew it had to be invented by somebody. And the Rovers are actually judged on their workmanship and appearance, which means you could actually address fine arts TEKS if you wish to.
Steve doesn't have quite as brain as STEM though.
Yeah, well, I actually go back and forth about this because it's one of those things where at a certain point, everybody's going to want to be involved. right? Oh, well, it shouldn't really just be STEAM, it should be humanities and art and science and technology. And now what we're basically saying is the whole curriculum is important. Well, I don't disagree with that, but the idea of having a focused effort in STEM is because we have a focused need in STEM, right? And it's really driven by that. So it's not that I have a problem with integrating art, but we gotta be careful, and this is a perfect example of where there are two paths, right? You can turn this into a project that is 90% arts and crafts, right? You can imagine how it would happen, where you just focus your time and energy and attention on the building of the Rover. And you can do that, and your kids can get all the way to the competition, but once they're just start asking you questions about why they made the decision they made, it's going to be clear that they didn't go through the science, technology, engineering part of it. So it's really important to not, because the art project pathway is the easy pathway. It's easy to grab a bunch of stuff and put it on a table and say put it on a rover and then make up a story that is either connected or not connected to reality, or connected or not connected to any prior thought about why the things are on there. Right? So it's a much more difficult path to go through the curriculum, use the materials there, or use your own but making them go through the process of thinking about what does Mars exploration actually look like.
This actually solved the problem, whereas the other way, they just build it.
Yeah, and that's the focus, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's exactly
What's
right.
the objective?
If you start with you go back to that engineering design slide, if you start the thing with a problem and an iterative process to create a solution, you're doing it the right way. If you start with, look at all the stuff we can do, it's not going to work.
Well, I said for years with the put hands on the science, what kids already know how to play. I don't need to facilitate them playing. What I need them to learn something before, during, and after the hands-on activity. So, I mean, they already know how to play.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's the critical component that's missing from a lot of inquiry-based science education. Not the hands-on. It used to be that the part that was missing was the hands-on portion. There was no hands-on going on in the classroom. We weren't putting materials in kids' hands. I visit a lot of schools and a lot of science labs. I run a professional development program for Science Futures. That's my full-time job here. And so I can tell you.
One of his full-time jobs.
Yeah,
Right, one of them, right?
Exactly.
Grant writer and everything else, right? Program evaluator. Anyway, but being in those classrooms tells me that we know how to do hands-on with kids, right? We know how to put the materials in their hands. We've spent a lot of effort over the last 15 years beating that drum. What we have very inconsistent results in is how to structure and lead the conversation that happens during and after those hands-on activities. And so that's where things like having high-quality questioning strategies and facilitating cooperative learning, and things like who uses Kagan structures in their class. Anybody use Kagan? So that's a really great example. H. Keeley uses science formative assessment. She's got these books that have formative assessment strategies. This is where the metal or the rubber hits the road in terms of pushing this process forward.
It's all about making connections.
Right.
And that's what I see with some of the other teachers too, when I have been in and out of science classrooms, is some teachers doing experiments because they're fun. Okay, we don't do experiments because they're fun and wow, it's teaching why it happens, how it happens, and making that connection. And I think that needs to be done.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Yeah, and like I said, that's getting the conversation part out of it.
Huh?
Huge challenge.
No, let's make a volcano.
And the so the point of that whole sort of soapbox diatribe I just went on is that Mars Rover is a curriculum that's designed to structure that conversation so that you're talking about something that's highly interesting to the kids, which provides you as a teacher with leverage to get them to think about the things you want them to think about, right? because you need the leverage. Because you just use the sort of canned, approach, it's really hard to get the kids to engage at a level that they need to go through this process. So,
Thank you. Yeah, that's your last slide.
cool.
The
Oh, actually, before, because I'm gonna take off, but before I do, I think my contact information, I'm not sure if my contact information is part of these materials, but
It's not.
I'm gonna, do we have that marker still?
Yes, it's.
I don't know if I don't even think I introduced myself at the beginning. My name is Andrew Capital. I run the STEM Teaching Equity Project here at the University of Houston. And we provide long-term sustained professional development for science teachers. Right now, we work with teachers in grades 4 through 6, and we work with high school physics teachers, but the grade levels we work with changes on a sort of annual basis. And so if you're interested in further professional development, and I'm talking long-term, like each of our programs provides up to 120 hours of training during the summer and the next academic year. Or if you're just interested in learning more about our approach to inquiry instruction or what we do here, please email me. My email address is ajcapital. This is at uh.edu. And you can check out our program at HoustonStep.org. Sorry, that's not totally clear, but
Is that AJ what?
KAPRAL.
It's a trick marker. It's actually in light gray.
Is that STEP?
Yes, STEP, STEP.
One of the ironies of this business is that the Lunar and Planetary Institute down on Bay Area Boulevard in the Clear Lake area also has a long-term professional teacher development program with exactly the same acronym.
STEP, yeah. So, which is cool. I mean, their program is good too. It's great.
So we will continue now.
Thank you.
I actually am of the view that one of the reasons to do experiments is because they are fun. If science isn't fun, you're doing it wrong. So I'm now going to talk about the mechanics of our celebration event.
So, wait, are we going?
Yeah.
We are the class! Okay, so
This is our rover.
this is a rover, it's called the Conrad. Yeah, and so it's supposed to find elements and compounds in the rocks and soil of Mars. So this is a shovel and a mechanical arm that help it pick up the rocks
And soil.
and soil. And then it gets tossed into this like invisible testing chamber right here, where it gets analyzed. And the data is sent to NASA. It's analyzed on the computers, and the data is sent to NASA using a satellite. And then it has a propeller, and NASA steers it from Earth. And its power source is a satellite. So, and it has strong tires to go over rocky areas and headlights to make it see in the darkness of Mars. And diamond, not really.
And this is the control panel.
Yes, it just settings and like stuff like that. Like yep. And it has a license plate.
That's a fairly typical sample skit. I mean, and this is actually, when you go to the lesson plans webpage, this is actually embedded in the webpage, and I did it wrong. It always starts, which I understand is obnoxious. It's an amateur doing web pages. I looked at this several times before I realized those glasses were part of the costume.
Oh, yeah.
They're so part of my daily life. Students wearing glasses held together with tape. Undergraduates don't have the world's biggest budgets. That I didn't realize. Wait, that's a costume?
Fashion statement.
That's a statement in itself, isn't it? Now, we say that officially the capstone is not part of the curriculum. Yeah, right. There's also no such thing as a double positive, isn't there? That was an English teacher's joke. Okay. It really is part of the curriculum. And one of the ways we encourage that is we have limited capacity. And we actually have sold out for the last 4 or 5 years. So the why is it important? So we actually encourage you guys to have school, or even if you're multiple districts, district level, if that's what's necessary. Sometimes I think New Caney needs to do that when I see how many kids they send. And Quail Valley certainly does. They have the whole 6th grade do the program, which is, so what we need, you need to do your own capstone at the school level to basically select the people. Cut down is the, down select is the NASA term. That's a little stark.
Make the short list.
Make the short, identify the ones worthy of the honor of coming to the citywide competition. But the learning that you put in preparing for the capstone, it's always the case. It's like preparing for finals. You know, it doesn't matter how hard you get the kids to work as they go along. They all go back and in the process of reviewing for finals, there's an integration that takes place no other time. And I even remember that, you know, thinking, and when I became a teacher, I kept thinking to myself, there's got to be a way I can promote this kind of ongoing process of integration so it doesn't all happen at the end. And after 48 years in the classroom, I have not succeeded. They all cram at the end no matter what you do. I've even tried telling them there'll be a question from one of the movies currently showing on the final. That doesn't work. They don't. I even did that one year, and then I was told that was really uncool. So the capstone event, I mean, I first saw it when my own children did it in 4th grade at Benwood Elementary. So it can be executed in a single classroom, 1 grade level, a school-wide competition. And it was a grade level there because all the 4th grade classes, Benwood is the way SBISD works their elementary GT program, they take the kids out of school and take them to the GT program, rotating one day a week. And the capstone was all the days of the week coming together to compete against each other. Preparing, you have to do the obvious things. You got to make sure, and you can do this by having an in-class capstone or an in-school capstone. The groups should be well rehearsed. Make sure they bring everything. There have been any number of times I've seen kids with tears streaming down their face. Johnny forgot the axle. And by the way, the trifold, you see a lot of trifolds. This is not part of the scoring, but try and stop them. You know, somehow along the way in 2nd grade, when you first start them doing trifolds, you get that message across. And they're not going to not do a trifold. Some mom in this picture will insist there be a trifold. Now, one way to keep teachers do keep the parent involvement to a minimum is you keep the Rover. And the Rover is worked on in class. And what happens at home is gathering materials and doing research. That way, by the way, you can monitor that everybody's working.
I have a question.
Mhm.
So the rovers don't have to actually remove
Okay, no. Now, the RC car, yes. If you do the RC car category, it actually has to still move. But it can't be the original model. They have to have taken the body and thrown it away and put other stuff on there.
What about the solar?
The solar, what we say is that when you stick it under, problem is that even one of these lamps isn't bright enough. It's nowhere near as bright as sunshine. So inside you don't necessarily, and those cells are kind of, wimpy. Really, if you really want it to move, you're allowed to go out to Michael's or Fry's or EPO and get more cells. But all we really ask you to do is when we put a lamp on it and you hold it up, the wheels turn. Now, one thing I'm always looking for input on, we actually do have, if you go on the webpage, you'll see it, there's a wiki discussion which hasn't been contributed to in years. But one of the discussion threads that I opened was, what about true robots? We tried an experiment. We actually had a category for that at the middle school level 2 years ago. And it was ghastly because the rule was, as I think I said, the only kit is the BSA kit. And otherwise, we'd really like you to go down to EPO and buy the parts yourself. So this is really an 8th grade project.
What's EPO? What is EPO?
Electronic Parts Outlet. It's the corner of Fondren and West Park or close to it. And there's also one in the Webster area. It's what Radio Shack was 50 years ago. Once upon a time, Radio Shack was actually a Radio Shack. I remember going to them in Brookline, Massachusetts, and it was just this really dingy hardware-like store full of parts and just wonderful. Our rules were you could spend another $25 on a CPU, or you could use the BSA kit, but you could not use Mindstorms. Not. Every contestant we got came in with Mindstorms. It's like, didn't you read the rules? The answer turned out to be, well, the teacher had skimmed the rules and missed the one word. And, several of the teachers were really upset. I said, no, here it is. It says, oh dear, I didn't see that. So we decided we weren't going to try robots again, maybe until the robot kits beyond the Mindstorms level become more commonplace. And I'm not holding my breath. So you've all had time to read that. Okay, so if you're getting ready, we have a website. And like I said, this website will be down for maintenance on Monday and Tuesday. We have almost everything you conceivably need. Every document we've ever used is online there. I thought I edited this page. What the hell? Yeah. It's January 31st, 2015.
Yeah, I saw that.
I did edit it. I somehow must have missaved.
14, so I figured it was last year.
I didn't save in the right sequence, I guess. Okay, but everything else is true. We have a huge ballroom. We have the largest ballroom on campus. And we're going to have 120 tables that side. Actually, they're skinnier. They're about half that width. This is sort of two of them put together, but that length, sort of standard folding tables. We'll have blocks of 4, and there'll be 4 models on those blocks. And we will put 30 of those blocks in the room.
So 4 models on a table that long?
No, it's, imagine this table, actually it's this table doubled would have 4 models.
Okay,
So
that's
it's,
2 models per table.
it's basically 12 feet by 60. It's a 12-foot by 5-foot block that will have 4 models. So what we do is we take one standard 30-inch by 6-foot folding table and we put them together in clumps of 4. So each model has 6 feet by 30 inches. And the size of the model should be, and the rules say, fits into a standard grocery sack. We are a little loosey-goosey in enforcing that because we're dealing with 8-year-old children.
So they basically would have enough room for the trifold cord.
Oh yeah. I mean, we don't nobody will have access to electricity in the room. There will be a set up light table where we will have our own lights for people to test their models with. I'm not sure we've gone to the point of saying thou must not, but we really strongly deprecate using laptops with PowerPoints as part of your display.
You do want that, you don't.
What?
Don't, yeah, I was, okay.
We strongly deprecate. We do not want that.
Except too much room, too much liability.
Yeah. Well, and it also creates an unfairness. One of our objectives here has been to make this as accessible as possible to schools of limited resources. If you look at our number of students with getting free lunch, which is the only measure you have, we actually have a fraction that's slightly higher than the fraction of schools where students get free lunch in HISD. We really have successfully produced an enrichment and outreach and intellectual growth program that is easily accessible to schools of limited resources. And, really the only resource you need for this program is some computer access and hot glue. All the rest, you don't have to use this. You can do free-form models, and all the rest can take the form of found objects, and we call them art supplies, but what do the mothers in this picture call this stuff? Trash, exactly. I told you about the discussion between my wife and his mother about his telemetry antenna. My son and my wife about, it's been a long day.
So a Sony camcorder with projection capabilities would be a lot smaller than a laptop, but would be something that we do.
We basically,
It's about the kids.
it's about the kids and their capabilities.
Yeah,
And we want native kid workmanship.
real, not virtual.
And so we have, the capacity of the room is 120 models. So the way we address this is each teacher, not each school, each teacher gets 3 models per classroom assigned. So if you're a teacher and you have 6 periods of grade 6, 7, and 8 kids, and all of them are doing Mars Rover, you could, in principle, bring 18 models. Now, I've never had any teacher do that because most of them have a more diverse set of assignments. Um,
I have a question. I'm the lab teacher, and I know I would have to get other teachers to come anyway. But I see paper five. So so instead of just listing everything under me, I need to just list some under the other teachers that would help me shadow.
that's one way to do it. That's the preferred way. And the way it works, the way our page works is, and I may actually go in a second, and let me get through my slides, and I'll bring the page up and walk through logging in. I always log myself in as the character from Lord of the Rings, Boromir. And a certain credible individual last week wondered, why is Boromir Voronway signed up here? And do we really have a school in the Houston area named Middle Earth Middle? I said, that's me. Oh. So I can enter good old Boromir in something. So each teacher enters individually, and the teacher's identity is their email, and they have to enter their own password. Although I guess, Kathy, you guys all had the same password last year, so that
It just makes it real easy.
it made it easy. Yeah. But the emails have to be different, and when you get there, each teacher has their own packet, or each school has a packet. One of the things we work hard on, and it's actually a real challenge, is to make sure that all the schools, back when we did not start with a pull-down menu, we used to get a most amazing collection of spellings of elementary. Because people would enter their school name and they'd misspell elementary, and we think this was a different school. And so some people would put down they were at Albert Einstein Academy, and some would put down they were at Albert Einstein Elementary, and our system would record them as different. We've worked hard to beat that, so that there can be a packet for the school with a sub-packet for each teacher. So it's really well organized. Laura, you want to talk about that?
I'm sorry, I was reading, not listening.
Oh, okay. I was bragging on your skills as an organizer of handout materials. I was describing the type of the packets they get on day of.
Right. There's a lot of resources and especially in terms of going forward. So if you want to connect with Johnson Space Center, if you want to, all of those different kinds of things. There's so many things I can't remember.
Well, but I was talking about the organization, that there is a mega packet per school, and inside that there's an envelope for each teacher.
Yes. And then you know exactly which tables the students from that teacher are assigned to, so you can direct them where to.
We assign you to specific assigned tables, so that the judges have pre-printed score sheets, so that we try as hard as we can to minimize the possibility of error. Now, this is an issue this is why I wish I had all 75 of you, all the 75 teachers who are going to enter. We sell out, okay? By November 15th, the entries will be full. Now, what I have taken to doing is I say that you can obtain additional allocations. I tend to hold those off until the 15th of November. And then I sit down with all the requests and parcel them out, so that it's fair. Because otherwise, some of the old hands will go in, and they'll sign up for 40 entries for their school, and then bring 10. And in the meantime, those 30 slots go begging. So we'll do this allocation process around the 15th of November. It'll be interesting for me this year. I'll probably be in Alaska teaching this as a teacher training workshop at the Challenger Center in Kenai that week. But That's the good time of year to go to Kenai in November. So your allocated number of models corresponds to physical reservation of a table for each model. Your tables are held for you unless and until you release them. So if you're only going to bring one model and you know that now, tell me at the time you enter. You actually can tell me at the time you enter. And as soon as you know you're only bringing two, or you reserve for 6 because you handle 2 classrooms, and oh wait, I'm only going to have 4 models going. Tell me as soon as possible, because the sooner I know, the easier it is for me to fill.
On the website though, it only lets you put 3, I think, per teacher.
3 per teacher, and what I just said is I will give you additional allocations for multiple, but on the 15th of November. I mean, that's because I really want to kind of control the stampede to the entrance and then have more.
You know, we're not gonna probably have our school selection until probably early January. And so I won't know if I have, you know, if I'm going to need, 8 or 12 until
Well,
then. I mean, and that would be the only difference.
The basic criterion for me is how many classrooms are working on the problem,
Okay.
and how many teachers. So if you have, what did you have last year? 3 teachers?
We have 3 teachers, but we have 2 teachers and four classes.
Okay, so I think that at some point, I don't think, if I remember correctly, you asked for more than 10 models. I really have that kind of memory.
Right.
And,
Yeah,
you could have gotten up to 12.
right.
And so on November 15th, you say, okay, we have this in so many classrooms, let me have 12. And I think you said, let me have 10 at that point. And maybe it was Kira who said, but one of you said, and we did that. And then, yeah, I know that, but let's say you have your down select on January 10th.
Let you know that.
Let me know then, because on January 10th, it's still not too late for Quail Valley to send more models.
Okay.
They have, 600 children doing the program. We could fill the room if I could just tell Quail Valley bring all 600.
Please don't.
Please don't, right, yes.
I am another 4 principal.
So we, on the day of, and okay, I realize this is excessively large font. To focus your concentration will be a quiz. When I give professional presentations to scientific conferences and it's 4:30 in the afternoon on Friday and everybody's already had a beer, it's amazing how much more attention I get if I just say, there'll be a quiz at the end of the period. Conditioned reflexes work. That adrenaline jolt hits them before they realize that can't possibly be true. Okay, so we have the judging, and while the judging is going on, we actually would like to minimize the number of parents in the room because of fire laws. So we actually have a presentation to the parents. And it's how to get your kid. Well, for the elementary school, one I toyed with having one year was how to parent a geek. And I was told that wouldn't go over big, but it's actually of some considerable concern. But then we have, for several hours, it takes us a while to process the scores. So we have science activities and tours of the campus to encourage the young urban terrorists to go to college. We then have a ward presentation in a separate theater and then hand out the awards. We try to have scientific presentations and prominent Mars-type people to give some of this stuff. Like last year, the awards were handed out by Bonnie Dunbar, former astronaut. I suspect we can get Professor Dr. Dunbar to do it again because she's responsible for administering Mars Rover these days. I have a preliminary commitment from a NASA engineer to give one of the presentations, and I can probably get Walter again. Erin Beisner. Erin's amazing. She's an exceptionally attractive young engineer, and she's also an international Taekwondo gold medalist. Don't make Erin mad. And she gives a great talk. So then we do the same thing with the middle schools, and there's some overlap. You know, this makes life very hard for me because in principle, I should be in two places at once. I should be here at the awards, and I should also be supervising the Rover judging. So I have to have a good team. And then the middle school kids really get to go out and about around campus. We're going to try and have the activities for the elementary school kids in the University Center building because, well, 8-year-olds don't walk very fast. Actually, they can go like lightning when you don't want them to.
When is breakdown or take home?
Okay, for elementary,
Well, I guess both.
For elementary, we try to be finished by 2:30. For middle school, they get there at 1. We're trying to be done by 6.
So as soon as the awards are over, they go back into the room and get the Rovers to take them home and stuff.
The biggest problem we have finishing on time? They get engaged in these activities and we can't pry them loose. That's a good problem. I mean, the activities are a really important part of this process from the standpoint of the university and the parents, because what the activities do is start to connect the kids with the concept going to college. And I have had parents I had one parent come up to me in tears saying, "You're the first person who ever told my child they could go to college." And I said, that's the point. We have really succeeded. Year 1, every child we tracked in year 1 went to college. The third graders from year 1 are now seniors. All the rest have graduated. Sorry, that's hard to. You know the numbers. It's really only 25% in Texas as an average. All of them. Year 2, I lost a guy. He didn't major in aerospace engineering. He was the winner. Wretched child. He's a pre-med at Harvard. He blames me. Year 3, the winner. She's a rising third year, or she's actually currently a studying third year cadet at the Air Force Academy. She blames me. I accept the responsibility. This works. Okay, I think I may actually bring up, I still haven't fully I meant to edit, I edited almost all of those out. Ignore that. www.marsrover.org. Actually, you can find this, to the extent I have filmed this, it's on YouTube right now. That's the nice thing about YouTube. I don't have to post a link. It's there. Okay, so let me bring up my browser. You can follow us on Twitter, although Mars Rover Celebration, because there's a daughter in this picture. I have a personal Twitter account. I've tweeted about 5 times on my personal Twitter account. This has become something of my personal Twitter. But I do put in all the Mars rover stuff, but all the other Mars rover stuff, like the actual Curiosity rover, I retweet their tweets. And a lot of Sarcastic rover, who's a great source of Mars snark. And some of my friends who actually do outer planet science and snark about Mars, and they're pretty funny. So anyway, questions?
I have a question on I guess the mission book, whatever.
Mhm.
It needs to be on the forums, either the middle school or the elementary, whichever is.
I think you lose points if you don't have it on the form, but you can it'd still be accepted.
And the other thing, there was something on the middle school one about gears. I remember last year, isn't there something about gears on it? It's not in here, and I don't know how that's.
I don't remember that. There may have been a gear graphic.
Well, no, and the reason I was wondering, because it wasn't clear if it was on the model or the real, or what, if it was really going to Mars. And that was something on the book, it wasn't real clear if we're just.
If you can send that to me in real time when you're actually looking at it, I can address that. Actually, I could put you in touch with the author. I was hoping she'd be here, and yesterday she sent me an email. She wasn't going to be here. For those of you from Fort Bend, the author of that is Karen Staley, who has only in the 13 years we've done this has only missed 1 year, and that's because all her students dropped out of the project. I'm going to actually show you. Where is my?
And is there a way, like maybe for like the winning projects from the last couple of years, if we could actually see what their booklet looked like?
The booklet.
You know what I'm talking.
Yeah, that's an interesting.
That would really help to say, this is what a winning one looks like.
We can show,
And the pictures of the winning ones, it's at least I haven't looked at their website this year, but
Okay.
last year it was very hard to find pictures of like these are the winners.
That's because we never do that. Okay, Laura, are you listening to this?
I'm sorry, I was talking with you. What was being said?
It would be very helpful to say, this is a winning, these were the winning projects from last year. So that we have an idea of like, that's what a winning project looks
Okay,
like.
gotcha.
And
a
also
benchmark.
the mission plan or whatever it's called, I don't know, I cannot remember the right verbiage of what the little booklet is, what a winning one looks like. So, especially, like for me, not having been able to attend this last year, I was really kind of relying on other teachers and just the website, and I found those things lacking.
Yeah, the issue is, Laura, we need to work with the photographer. I mean, part of our problem is that in the last 3 years, we have not had access to a professional. Before that, we did, but the one thing we never could orchestrate was, we tried last year, and I never saw the outcome of producing a logbook that identified each picture by the names of the people in it. That was supposed to have been, there was supposed to be 2 volunteers going around.
They were, and I have that one.
You have that. But what we never did was then go back and say, okay, this picture is the winner. We could still do that.
Right. But that, you might not want to identify the children's names.
Well, the names are already posted. That
Those are already published.
the names actually go in the paper.
Because all they could see is,
Right, but you're not supposed to
everybody
have.
signs off on a media release.
Okay.
We have releases, and
Oh, that's right, yeah.
every so often some parent forgets they've signed a release, and it gets ugly when they discover that the picture is out there, or they said, I think in one case it was a non-custodial parent. He said, I didn't sign the release, just the. I'm sure you've all thought that, and because of some of those issues and histories, I know some of you have a rule: you sign one release at the start of the year, and that has to do for everything. Memorial was like that at one point. the university's lawyers won't let us accept that. Unfortunately, we have to have an event-specific release that
That's one.
Okay, so here's what, if you actually go to marsrover.phys.uh.edu, you get this rather, well, now what? Picture. That's because this web page was put together by, actually, he was a Memorial Middle School student at this moment in time. You know, you want a really good web page? Ask a 15-year-old boy. And he thinks it's funny that you have to sort of go, well, what do I do now? Well, you click anywhere on the rover. Now, every other 15-year-old who ever sees this figures that out in about 2 heartbeats, and grown-ups sit there and stare at it.
Yes, that's what I did.
And it is actually broken. It's supposed to switch to the next page in about a minute, and that part doesn't work. And that's because of the idealism of 15-year-old boys. He wrote the switch code in perfect HTML. No browser supports perfect HTML. And he was too proud to fix it. Does that sound familiar? Yeah. Okay, that was 10 years ago. So just click anywhere. And if you want to go to rules and application, that's actually where we want to go. Okay, so now the real challenge is if you have a Mars photograph background, finding colors that contrast. If you actually follow the color contrast rules, you end up with colors that are illegible. I spent many hours with Joseph Albert's Homage to the Square trying to beat this problem. That's the Bible of people who do color balancing for a living. So the entry form is here. And so now we're going to try and make this question clearer. District type means, are you Catholic school? Are you a public school? Are you a private school? Are you the Boy Scouts of America? So we will, now I'm going to enter as, well, I'll enter as a private school. You could put other, which would be a youth group. Choose a school district, other. At that point, I have to go down here and I can put so we'll be in 6th grade. And now, the one thing we ask is if you're an intermediate school teacher and you have a 5th grade and a 6th grade group, they're entering different parts of the competition. So you need to put in 2 entries, which means you're going to have 2 emails. And I think I'm not sure you have to have a phone number. We'll have, so you can choose 1, 2, or 3 models. I'll go ahead and put a phone number down. And my email, I'm going to put down oh, it's iCloud.com. Ooh, okay. Now, since I entered last year, it already has my password, which I think is, let me type
Is there
in.
a way if you can't remember the password?
Huh?
If if you don't remember the password you used in the past,
Override it.
okay, just put a new one in.
Yeah.
I think most stuff I always use the same way.
And, you know,
But you said this wasn't working the other day?
yeah, what was happening is it was rejecting you if you had already entered last year.
Okay.
And this admin point of contact, if you're entering multiple teachers from a school and you want to have a single point of contact designated, that box.
Oh, thank you.
That's what that means?
Mm-hmm.
That means
Can you
I'm,
click the box so we can see what it does?
Hmm?
Can you click the box so we can see what it does? That's just gonna, it's just a click. Okay, so that just says that you are the.
It just says you are the admin point of contact for your school.
So I've already
I know,
entered
me too.
underneath, so when I get my other teachers to enter, just have them click again.
This is optional. If you didn't click it,
any one of them could be it.
any one of them could be it, or if you don't even want to have an admin, or if you want you to be it,
Yeah, everybody applied, so.
you can send me an email and we will edit it. I don't know you. I don't think you can go back in and edit.
And each teacher needs to register.
Each teacher needs to register, and the real key is all of this stuff can be the same. The email has to be different. They can all have the same password. The emails.
That's why I think we did it, because I think Kira registered the three of us. So,
And so I will now submit this.
Yeah, stop right there.
Oh, yeah, the feed now, how do we?
You must specify who you are. I didn't put this. Okay.
if we paid last year and we didn't, then we're okay.
That's okay, yeah. I gotta think about that, but yeah.
I don't think we got the money back.
All right.
No, but I don't think we did the refund, so.
Password confirmation is required. Okay, it's annoying in that respect. I gave it a password confirmation, but it apparently wants you to retype it if you have to resubmit something. Uh-oh.
Still not fixed, but-
Laura?
Are you calling me?
Yeah,
Yes.
the same
What
error.
browser are you in?
No,
Browser?
this isn't the
You've
browser.
already registered, because did you use you?
Yeah,
Well,
but I'm not registered for this year. This is the first time I've done it for this year.
but you signed up for the workshop this year.
But
Dude, you know, this is our ongoing battle
Okay.
with the people that manage this part. And so,
But if we use another email.
If you-
I don't want
if you have-
I don't want it coming in my personal email. I want it coming in my school email.
well, you can create another one on iCloud or something. That if you have to have two, that's
they use the email as your like identifier. as your
identifier.
password.
I want to.
okay.
And I need that in my school email.
The
If we need to switch it or fix yours, email me directly and we'll get it properly done in the system for you.
the thing is that if you are registering twice, because once you're registering for sixth grade and once you're registering for fifth
Right.
grade, that's actually two entries all the way through our system.
No, I'm just, if I registered for the workshop, but I don't think I was able to register online for it. So
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
But this shouldn't happen. The fact is, if I've already registered for the workshop and I'm now trying to enter the event,
Right.
I should be able to
You don't
enter
want
the
to be getting
event.
that error. Okay.
Noted.
Okay,
Um,
just a quick question. Is it $25 per teacher?
Per school.
Per school? That's it?
Yep.
All right. I didn't see any place for Visa or MasterCard down there, so
That's
Jack?
the,
snail mail or check or what?
yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Address for snail mail and checks.
MyNSMstore.com, and so that's still could be possible.
We need to put that in here,
I'll
yeah.
follow up this week. I think it, anyone respond?
And is there any way to find out if our entry is already paid for this year? You know, I mean, if it wasn't refunded last year or something?
You send me an email. To tell you honestly, nobody requested a refund last year. So
Okay.
everybody who paid is,
Last year, it's already registered, okay.
um,
So I can just write a check, because otherwise the school would have to be a PO and all that.
yeah, either way. We have accepted POs. So I'm sorry, I can't go any further. Actually, I can, because I can just put in my email address from last year. And so once you've registered, you can then enter your Rover team data. It's .com. Okay, so so now if you have a model, so here we have a model, you know, we'll call one of the Gollum mission.
And when's the last date to register the individual models, or can this be edited pretty much at any time?
There is a last date.
What did you say?
Can-
You say there is no last date?
No, there is a last date, but can it be edited closer to the time?
Yes, that's where you would contact me.
Well, no.
Oh,
The- We're talking about the student, the model information. The model information is due, let's see, what's 31 minus 14? January the 16th.
Oh, okay, it's due pretty late, okay.
Laura,
That's fine, we'll know by then.
this is another of the issues we actually discussed and they agreed to, but haven't been done yet.
Well, it may if you add the student, then you can put another name in student, but it was supposed to have 4 of them all there.
Well, no, it's supposed to, you were going to have last name over here. You can have them lined up in a row.
Right, and there were supposed to be 4 of them, and now there's 1.
Does it add student just add another block, or does it like?
Yeah, let me go through it.
Yeah, go and see what happens.
And the mission is their question, right? What they're trying to solve, because ring finding is, you know.
Right.
Just
That's
make
part of
sure,
the rings.
make sure we're on the
Love.
right track here. Mission is what they're doing, right? What
Mhm.
their question is.
Mm-hmm. And that one is actually optional. That's there because they feel that people, the name doesn't tell you enough. So it's,
Right.
that one can be blank.
In the middle school, where were
Okay,
the
there you
least
go.
number of entries?
Perfect. That's what I needed.
Yeah, you just add.
For the
and then
middle
it's-
school was the free form, radio and solar, where are the least number of entries?
Radio.
Radio?
Right, because it'll only let you.
And then it was,
Huh?
what was the order? Which is the most?
Oh, it's a virtual tie between solar and freeform. Radio is definitely less, but solar and freeform depends on the year.
Okay. Thank you.
Who do we make the check out to, and what's the address?
The check is made out to Physics Department, University of Houston. And so this is, oops. She once said in an interview she always wanted to be a hobbit. And oh,
Will you email a receipt or that we received it so we can get reimbursed for the? Oh wait, we get it refunded, right? So
it's a refund, yes. So
we're gonna go to this every year, we don't have to get it refunded.
Yeah, we got to talk about that because the office that handles this is spazzing out. We may have to go to every year deposits because when I told them they had to keep track of who wasn't refunded last year, they said, fine, you can find some other office to do this. And so I don't even know I don't think I even have a list from last year because they basically refused to compile it. And they said, well, if that's going to be the procedure, you better have Teach Houston take over completely. But you don't have any certified money handlers, so it's not. We have to have.
I can be a certified money handler. I can become one. I met with Jennifer the other day about that. It's just an online model.
Well, we'll do whatever is.
No, it's
just
at the moment since we didn't say get your refund or it's gone last year but this year we may have to say that. Anyhow, Laura, you need to come here again because this is a new one. We just seen we're error checking while you watch. I actually turned myself down to an allocation of 0.
Okay.
You're not supposed to be able to enter a rover if you have an allocation that is net 0.
Okay.
I entered it. It took the information, and now I can register -1 rovers. It's failing the you can't register test.
But you know what? Just because it's in there doesn't mean that it's registered because it's already telling you, hey, you already got one in there that we're not even counting. We got to make sure what that means.
Read down.
Has been successful. I know. I'll let me take a picture of that screen.
Your model dollar has been successfully registered.
Mm-hmm.
Add another rover.
And it says you can still register -1 individual rovers. It should have rejected my registration because I actually set I control this and I set my own limit to 0. But it shouldn't have. I shouldn't still be there because it's still referencing last year's.
Just 1 second. Yeah.
You can't go below 0.
I'll tell you, I'm willing to bet that what happened is when he corrected the problem for the workshop, he didn't correct it for this.
Yep.
It's good that you just.
They love me over
So
there.
this is why you have these classes, so that you can work out the kinks.
Well, actually, we're university policy says I'm supposed to be able to have an offline live fire test that it can't even be seen by anybody, but because we're having this done on a volunteer basis, and those guys will not do that. The fact that the dean and the provost are going, yeah, you better because we'll shut you down if you don't, is not something they're responding to.
Right.
So
Okay, I'll call Marcus on Monday. I'll meet with him personally.
it would seem that not only do we have errors, but he hasn't made some of the changes he said he would. So.
Right, exactly.
Okay, all right.
Well, it's a bye weekend. He had something to do.
Around here, we don't take open date for granted. We've lost to open date.
What do you mean? You lost?
The football team is playing that really scary opponent, open date. We've been known to lose.
Oh.
All right, thank you all for coming, and
Thank you for having me.
hopefully by the time you get to trying this, it will work better.
The address to send the check. We make check payable to Physics Department, University of Houston.
Right. Address would be Science and Research 1.
617 Science and Research 1, Houston, Texas, 77204-5005.
You got it. No, not really. I didn't get it that fast.
Well, you gonna email it to us or?
Here, I'll write it up here. Where's the?
Laura, isn't that in the auto reply mail?
It might be. He still hasn't sent me that stuff either. What's going on?
Can you send that to us? The address?
I will send y'all the
Just
address.
to make it easier
So you
for us.
will, Monday.
We want to pay you the deposit, you know?
And you have to pay for the workshop, if you could come over and I'll, take your payment and write your receipt.
Yes.
And please,
entire trail. Muffins?
Did we take the Rover or?
Yeah, yeah.
Take the Rover.
Yeah, sandwiches, I'll take.
You guys
I did
mind?
not eat one
Yeah,
earlier.
take those
Randy?
sandwiches.
What?
You guys mind if I-
No, you take that.
Wait, let me take a picture of it. A picture, I'm sorry, I'm trying to type to my coworker.
I should take a picture of the other stuff.
You are.
So that my.
Here, let me bring this one up so you can.
Let me send it.
Did you, how did you pay?
I don't know, I have a different
So, do you know who that is? In case anyone wants to follow up?
her name is,
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
Oh! I didn't get it.
Oh, my good
It
lord.
vanished before I could get it.
It's a design flaw.
Okay.
Come on. Get my kids out of
Okay, where is my hangout? I need to go find my hangout.
Here it is. Thank you so much.
I have 50, so.
Okay.
All right, you have
As long as you got
Here,
one.
I have
You have my
25.
payment. So
There you go. Yes, thank you, sir. Okay, so,
so much.
this.